Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are tuning in from. If you know me and you watch my lives, I start every live off with that because I do think it's so super cool that we can be anywhere in the world and tuning in all at the same time at the same place. So, before we get into introductions or do anything as it relates to Blue TV, I want to tell you that I am here in Houston, Texas. If you can also put in the comments below where you're from, Nikki, tell us where you're located.
I'm in Fort Myers, Florida.
Awesome. I love Florida. That's a whole nother conversation topic for that.
Right.
But yeah, so everyone knows that I kind of manage all of the LinkedIn and the StreamYard and everything, the Facebook and all the other places that we're streaming. So if I'm not actually looking at Nikki, or it looks like I'm looking away, I am probably looking away because I'm looking at the LinkedIn on my phone, right? So that I can make sure that we're staying on top of everything. So please know I am always active listening. In fact, that's what I really focus on as it relates to sales. So I am actively listening. We're going to make this a fun and exciting conversation today here on Blue TV. As you know, these are every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. In Nikki's world, that means 12 p.m. her time at lunch. So wherever you're joining, again, I am so excited, or we are excited that you're here. We've got a lot to unwrap. The goal of Blue TV is really to talk about some of the great things that my guests such as Nikki are doing, and then really some of the successes that we've had here on LinkedIn, right? And what we're doing that is really impacting us or others for that matter. So with that, I want to share just a few moments about how I met Nikki. So Nikki and I belong to a group. It's actually only been recently that I've gotten to know her. She is an amazing woman. I'll let her do her own introduction. And the more I learn about her, the more amazed I am. But that all being said, we got to meet in a group in which we're all together on both a WhatsApp group and in a LinkedIn actual group there on LinkedIn. And she has been having tremendous amount of success here on LinkedIn. So I'm super excited as we progress this conversation for you to learn more of some of the things that she's been doing and some of the reasons we've been successful here. But the other thing is I think she's got a really interesting platform, not only a business, but also from her philanthropic, thank you, philanthropic work that she does. So I am probably not going to do her enough justice. So instead, I'm going to pass it over to you, Nikki, so that you can introduce yourself to the world. And thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I remember you talking about this. We were both going to be in Arizona at the same time, of all things, which was awesome. We met through the Blue TV is like your own creation from the Top Voices. So I appreciate you putting this together and all the interviews that you're doing. I'm with ICG Pay. My husband started the company 15 years ago, almost 16 now. It's a fintech company. We started it from our kitchen table. So we have one of those bootstrap stories. And
I love
along the way, we've learned a lot of lessons as entrepreneurs. I think some of the lessons I learned as a parent has probably helped me the most in being in business. So we've got financial literacy that you have to have. You have to have some self-control. You have to have gentleness, and you have to have the ability to stay up all night sometimes to be able to get the job done. So I have appreciated the opportunity to be a part of the marketing here. I do the human networking. So I meet with the partners. I talk to them about what they're going to do. But my favorite part is working with the philanthropy. So the philanthropic, yes, that's my favorite part is the philanthropic aspect of it. So we work with MLBPA. That's the Major League Baseball Players Association. We have some key people that we've been helping to develop that program. Their idea is to empower youth learning sportsmanship, learning team building skills, and they use this program called Learn Fresh to learn STEM resources. So we've been able to jump on that to sponsor some of the events that they're doing, and now we're going down this route of learning financial literacy for not only their young players but also the youth that they're able to impact. Another group that we do some philanthropic effort with is the NACHA Payments Innovation Alliance, which is another thing that's going down the route of financial literacy. And what else do we do? We like the whole foster care aspect. So I have 5 children. Um, four of
Which is a
them.
lot, by the way. I have two, and I would shoot myself. I admire her because I would shoot myself if I had more than two. But go ahead.
Yes. Well, and they're similar in ages too. I remember learning that way back when. So mine are 9 to 19. How old were yours again? Was it
Mine
4, 5,
are
6?
9 to 14.
Okay, yeah. So similar ages. So yeah, we get involved in foster care because our youngest, we adopted her through foster care. And then there's a program in Brazil. Some good friends of ours, the Hatcher family, is running an organization called ABBA. So they reach out to 600 children that are living on the streets in foster care, being adopted from the streets. And so we've had a heavy hand in that program to be able to empower them, not only with a home and shelter and food, but then we also have opportunities through the people that work there to share the gospel and to help them to work through how to communicate their feelings, which has been great for their school situation and their life in general. So, I think that's enough. It's your turn.
I think that is way more than enough. When I told you that she is amazing, you can see why she's amazing. So she is an entrepreneur with her husband. She and doing, all facets around marketing, which includes some of the partnerships, focusing on the human networking aspect of it, which in itself takes up, I'm sure, a lot of time. Then she has all these philanthropy or philanthropic organizations that she helps work with or helps, and we can dive in a little bit more about each of those. And then she's also a mom of 5. I mean, come on, how in the world do you even sleep? Do you
I
sleep,
think so.
Nikki?
I don't remember though, right? The days just kind of pass. But
I
we've talked about this before though. Parenting, I don't think you sleep. I think you think about your kids, you think about your spouse, you think about your business. I don't think sleep was something that I think about.
I don't either. I love it when I get it, but I'm not as crazy busy as you. But you did have a post, in fact, around the relationship between what you've learned as a parent and
Hmm.
how that really helps you as a business owner or as a leader within your business organization. Maybe share a little bit about that because that really resonated with me. In fact, so much so that some of the things that I've learned from my kids, I've actually implemented in my strategy in my business. But share a little
Yeah.
bit about your post because and what you've learned.
Well, thank you. I like that opportunity because with you, I can see where the selling aspect. We're watching our children sell to us all the time, right? We're learning from them how to close the deal on, Mom, I need $10 for this. Mom, I need the keys for this, right?
Yep.
But yes, with the children, I'm learning how to be able to communicate more patiently, right? Because they're young and they don't know. So, and I think that translates really well to their situations with like sales team. Maybe they don't know the solution very well. So, as far as on the marketing side, all right, let me create a diagram because I want to hit you on the visual. I want to hit you on the Connecticut. Maybe you're an audible learner. And I've learned that because of children. I had to teach the 5 in different ways. So, we do a hybrid school right now. That means that they go to school 3 days a week and I school them at home 2 days a week. We've done virtual schooling in the past, but the lessons that I've learned on how to be able to meet a kid where they are, I've applied that with the team. And I'm excited because that's how we all learn, right? The growth mindset. You have to figure out what have I done here? Can I templatize it and use it somewhere else? And I think parenting and business go hand in hand. How about you?
I, well,
Is it?
I think what I love about that concept, though, before I touch on me, I think is where I think it's something that we should really hone in on is that
Mhm.
we have to, as business leaders, as business owners, or even in sales, we have to meet everyone where they are. So I love that you've had to do that with each of your children because even though I only have 2 children, you've got 5, so that I can imagine that each of them are so very different. So that's 5 times in
Mhm.
uh, an opportunity to learn how to manage or how to work with them best. I only have 2, so a little bit more limited than you. But even then, those 2 are so completely different from one
Right.
another so that I've had to adjust and make sure that I, like you said, meet them where they are. I mean, one is super talented at naturally talented at sports, where the other one has to work really hard. So the way I coach them as it relates to off the field, like I don't coach them on the field, but as it relates to off the field, the mind space, the things like that, I have to coach them differently in that respect.
Mhm.
Or one of them, she doesn't have to study much, or she has to study more and he doesn't have to study much. as it relates to math. He's like a whiz in math, and she is not at all. So the time that I spend with him and how I work with him is so different than with her in the math questions that they have, and vice versa in the reading and spelling, right? So she's better at reading and spelling than he is. So, but those have taught me things, which maybe leads into answering your question. I mean, what I've learned as well, and I always knew this, but I think it took me until having children to really adopt it more effectively, is that same concept that you mentioned, is meeting them where they are. And because I think that we are, as individuals, so very different, and we hire, we employ, and we work with so many different people that when you can templatize, why am I struggling today? When you can templatize something, then that's great. But you're going to have to adjust that accordingly based on who you're working with. And I think that's also what makes both the professional and the personal world so exciting and challenging all at the same time, right?
Sure. Well, that's the adaptability,
Mm.
adapting every strategy and the whole measuring KPIs. Well, that relates to children too, right? You're looking at what they do, what the output is, and then adjusting your strategy to parenting them the same way you do adjusting your strategy at work, right? I mean,
Yep.
you know, if you're going to get them to eat their dinner, do you have to put barbecue sauce on it?
Yeah,
Like what you got to do to pivot for the meal for them to be able to be healthy. Are your children competitive at all? Have you had
they
that?
are. They are. They're both. So one of them is in select baseball or travel ball, and
Mhm.
Emma is in high school softball and in select ball at the time. So they're both super competitive. That
Okay.
they get that from me. I'm super competitive. Are you as well? I would suspect you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So then you've learned parenting them how to incentivize them with competition. How have you related that into your sales strategy, teaching other people how to sell?
Well, I mean, that is, sales in itself is a competition, right? So how do you get them to have a methodology, or practice a methodology in which it's a fun and exciting game versus one that seems stressful and a little bit more negative? When we tend to spend time more negatively in a negative mind space, we view the competition sometimes as hard, or we view the competition in a way in which we aren't working as a team. We've got to be we're laser focused on how do we get to from point A to point B very quickly, and who cares what anyone else thinks. But sales really is a team sport. While we
Mhm.
are certainly incentivized and paid based on our individual contribution, it
Mhm.
is a team sport, because you have to bring in all the people within your side of the house to help you through the
Mhm.
sales process. You've got to work with multiple stakeholders within the organization in which you're trying to sell to. So it becomes a team sport. So teaching them
Yes.
how to be a team while still working towards their individual goal, which that's conceptually the same thing that I have to teach my children, right? They
Sure.
are individually, they have to do their very best on both of their teams, but
Yeah.
then they also have to think in terms of, how do I contribute if I'm having a crappy day and I'm not playing my best? How do I support the team so that I am playing, at least contributing to the team in a way that the team is playing their best, right? I'm sure you've experienced the same.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The five, right? So you've got the two, they got to get the dishes done. They each have tasks that they need to do to be able to work towards that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what is your
Yeah.
tactic for teaching them the financial literacy? Do you attach some cash to be able to help them to accomplish their goals?
Yeah, no, I suck at that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend I'm good at it. I'm not going to philosophize. I'm not going to make excuses. I mean, I just
Okay.
suck. Finances are not my gig. I don't love it. I will do it, but because I have to, but I suck
Sweet.
at it. So maybe
Okay.
you can share with others how you teach them, because I don't do a good job of
Okay.
it.
We have some fun with it because, I mean, there's five of them making messes, right? You got to get it done. So it's the consistency, I think, is the hardest part. So I've got a bunch of dishes right now, and it would be embarrassing to show you. Like, trying to keep on them. But when we're in a little bit of a rhythm, it's great to incentivize them. So if you're going to do XYZ, Jason just created for our younger two a process. One has to take out the garbage. Now, if we have to ask him to take out the garbage, he's not going to get any rewards for it. But if he can do it and he keeps a little chart of how many times he's done it, which is sometimes 2 to 3 times a day, because we generate a lot
Well,
of trash.
what's the incentive? Why?
He's going to get $1 a bag, from my understanding, at the end of the week.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that would be helpful, right? He's got to be able to sort it. He's got to put the bag back in there. If one of his siblings happened to move the bag to the side and all of the noodles sauce, not that that happened yesterday, goes behind the bag into the bottom of the container, then he also has to go clean that trash can, you know? So
mm-hmm.
it's a little bit of a job. And then when he picks out the bag and stuff falls out of it, he's got to be responsible for cleaning around for whatever fell out as well. That's his job. So the second one, he has to mow the grass. He just started, he's gone through level 1. He's been able to mow the grass without breaking the mower yet, the riding mower. We Yeah. So we've gotten that far. Now, when we went through this phase 1 with the first set of kids, the first child ran over our mango tree. So that
Oh,
wasn't a good test experiment. We actually changed what his job was to get paid for. We didn't stay on that one. Just to put that out there. So number 3, he wants to have the yard mowed perfectly. He's the one that's doing the lines back and forth. He's cutting it lower for this area that he's making his football field, because he plays flag football. And he's going to get paid. Now that amount, I wasn't a part of the negotiation, but it's definitely cheaper than the, regular guy. But I think it's okay because we pay for his food and his bed and all that. I think it's okay we give them a cheaper. Yeah.
yeah.
And then my daughter, we're trying to incent her to clean her bedroom, right? So if she can be able to keep that up, then she can have more jobs that would incentivize her with cash. So anyways, those are a few examples, but yeah, we try
I
to
love,
teach them about literacy. And
I
then
love
they're not going to want to do anything unless they have a carrot, right? So that's fine.
Although that is so, I mean, I don't know that everyone on here, our guests out, or our audience out there, all of them have children, but maybe if you do have children, you can put in the comments below. Let us know if you as well have children. So maybe we might not want to spend too much more time on just our kids, but I will say that's the one area that I wish I could do a better job at. I hire someone that comes in to clean my house. I stay so busy, and so that's why I'm so amazed at how well you manage it all, because I stay so busy that I don't stay on top of whether or not they've cleaned their room. In fact, I have to prep my daughter if I need to go in her room, because the attic door, we have a door that it's actually covered in chalk paint, so it kind of matches her room decor. And it's a smaller door, so you open up the door, and that's where the attic is, the walk-in attic is. And if I have to go in there, I have to prep her. She needs to have her room cleaned up because I don't want to have a mommy meltdown, right?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty terrible at creating activities that can potentially incentivize, in which they actively then get their stuff done. Instead, I'm constantly always harping on them. But Chella, who, if you haven't met Chella, she's super cool. But she talks about money management. Mostly, she talks about how to charge your value.
Hmm.
But if everyone can see her comment, she says, my favorite money tip for kids was to have them prepare a meal. They had to make the shopping list and go to the store and of
Yes.
course make the meal. So she gave them a budget and they had to stay within that budget. I know this story because we've talked about this story. Her kids are older than mine. But yeah, I think I wish I did a better job at that. We'll leave it at that.
I think it's good though. Like it's not too late, because at 9 and 14, those are great ages to start learning. So the next phase that we've done is, we've had a small hobby farm. So like this prepare a meal that Chella's talking about, that's other items that we've done that are so important. So they know the value of money, and they know the value of waste too. Because when they go to order food at the restaurant, to be able to see it at the restaurant and then to be able to see it at the grocery store. Hey, you ordered the $20 steak. 14-year-old. It's like, do you know how much this costs, right? Another great thing that we like to do is talk about their future for like careers. and what kind of college degrees they could do or technical jobs they could do to be able to build towards that. So we're always setting goals with the kids to make them put a price dollar to things. Now, I think this is important when you go to talk to your team. You can transfer these skills the same way. So I'm teaching them, hey, son number one, you want to go into marketing. Here are some courses that I found that would be helpful. And we're going to SEMrush, we're going to HubSpot, we're looking at Udemy, all of these things to be able to help him because he's looking at this as his career. Well, I happen to be on a marketing team, right? So I'm telling them, hey guys, these are things that could empower you. And then I have them share that with each other too. So I think as far as helping the children to have a grasp on what are other things that can help them to build their financial future, to build their career development, you can pass that on to the team that you're with, or even on LinkedIn. People are dying to know, what else are you learning? And maybe it's because you learned it with your kids.
I
And that,
agree. I think that's where we can glean a lot of opportunity to share some of our insights and our experiences. And really, when we go on as consumers of content, so put
hmm
aside whether or not you are a content creator or not, but as consumers of content, we want to learn things that are new. We want to continuously learn without feeling like we're learning. And the way to do that is to share some of these stories like this that help
hmm
us learn in a way that is relatable, in ways that we can then have that aha moment that says, oh, yeah, now that makes sense, right? So I agree with you, which, if we talk about professions, because we both have children that are looking at what their future might be like. I mean, Emma's only 14, so she's got 3 years before she goes into college. And I think this is a great segue into the world of the entrepreneurship that we're both in. But I think that the jobs of today are not going to be the jobs of tomorrow. If they exist, how we function in them, what our roles will be, are going to be a bit different because of all the new introduction of technologies
hmm
into our space right now. Um, what are some of the things, as if you were someone, and you've got a son who's 16, right? So a son, he's 16, right? So what are you challenging him with, or what are you guys, some of the conversations you're having as it relates to what the world might look like 2 or 3 years down the road when he's actually embarking on trade school or a college program at all? Have you had those?
Yes, it's the same as I'm doing with my team, and it's the same that I'm putting content on for LinkedIn. I'm talking about, hey, you need to know AI. You need to start studying and become a prompt engineer because everything's going that direction. I've started this program with Coach Fox, and then with Artflow, we learned from some of the other ones in our network that this is where everything's headed towards, is to be able to have that AI, the automation, and then they need to figure out how can they jump in on it now. Our kids, our teams, whoever it is that we speak with, they need to be able, and you have a lot of experience with AI. What led you down that path to go ahead and start studying it with sales?
Yeah, well, that was because when I moved to Houston, so I've been in sales for over 30 years, and the
Mhm.
latter part of that, so I would say, I mean, I guess it's been maybe now 16 or 17 if I did the math, but it's been over 15 years of it was spent in automation, machine learning, and AI, right? So automation and machine learning really fall under the AI umbrella, which, by the way, AI has been around for more years than most of us even realize. I think the first iteration of or the first iteration of AI was like in 1956 when MIT, IBM, and I can't remember who the third was, that all partnered together, right? So AI's been around for a really long time. It just has gone mass to the masses here more recently. So now it has become, this new mainstream conversation topic, but it's been around for a while. But what really caused or created or fostered might be a better word, this enthusiasm for it was because I sold those technologies for so long. And my differentiator between myself and my peers was that I truly understood the products I was selling. So I could have, and the business problems we were trying to solve, which meant that I could have these conversations with the buyers, because buyers have never really loved salespeople. They would love when a software engineer would come in and have the conversation with them, because they could actually talk a little bit more credibly, or credibly, that's not even a word, but credible, in a credible way, right? Because they could actually speak their language. And so I learned how to speak their language, so much so that I wouldn't have to bring a software engineer in, which enabled me to build this credibility with them and have these conversations that they would otherwise not have with other salespeople. And so because I learned the technology and the business problems, it really fostered this enthusiasm. I really understood what the technology could do, what it looked like, how it could help us. And it's really exciting. I mean, if we look at, there are some negative implications to leveraging AI, especially when we're not using it for the good. But overall, there are so many great and wonderful things that AI can do for us. Put aside Chat GPT, look at all the things that all the impact that AI is having in the healthcare space, right? I mean,
Right.
that's where we're seeing some of the biggest, most valuable impact is in that space alone. So I love that is really a little bit about why I love AI. I mean, I could talk about AI for days, but I will say I'm not an AI expert. I'm more of an enthusiast, right? But I love to talk about it. I love to dive into it. I love to help us adopt and adapt to AI technologies, but still retain the human element within the world that we live in. So,
Sure. Have you
yeah.
seen it yet in payments? So in our background, of course, we've got a fintech company, right? But then now it's the upgrade is going to be adding AI to everything, right? How do you see that fitting in the automation with payments in the financial industry?
Yeah, I can see it, and I don't know for certain because I haven't done the research, but in concept, if I were to think about the technology and what it can do for us, I could see it doing a really good job of providing a system in which when you input your data, it can, it doesn't matter where you are, what you do, it can bring all forms of, and we're already seeing that in like as simple as Venmo, right? You can now use cryptocurrencies or your own currencies. You can
Mhm.
transfer them back and forth, but it'll start to understand a little bit more about your buying history, your payment history, and it'll start sending you much more detailed information about the things that might interest you based on what it has learned about you and and your habits, your spending habits. So I think we're going to see a lot more personalization in
Mhm.
the way you're spending your money and what it sends to you to potentially get you to spend more of that money, and then what form of payment you're going to use. I don't know about you, but are you seeing more in the fintech space, more and more of cryptocurrency being used?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. No, but they're moving towards real-time payments, which is going to be instantaneous. So you've got the Fed now, and then you have what's called from the clearinghouse real-time payments. And those are the next, they have to get the banks to be able to start receiving it and to be able to initiate the transaction, the origination. And it's a lot going on for this year, but I think it's going to happen. It's just going to be a lot more third parties that need to work with the banks to be able to have that effectively work. I
So when I
think the
think of So when I think of real-time payments, then you correct me if I'm wrong, but and this is for the audience to maybe better understand as well. If I'm thinking about real-time payments, I'm thinking as soon as I hit I need you to pay, it's going to pay and you're going to see the transaction on the back end already because right now there's a delay. When you make a payment, it sits in a pending status
sure.
in your bank account until it clears through, which whether that's a deposit or it's a payment, if there is a delay. So
Right.
I'm hearing you say is there won't be potentially this year an actual delay. Once it hits your bank, it'll either be paid or it'll be deposited right away without any
Correct.
pending status, correct?
Correct, and it's a push out, so it goes one way. There's not a chargeback after that because you're verifying that that's the money you wanna spend, you are the person that's spending the money, and it's going the place that it's supposed to be. So there's all kinds
Huh.
of checklists to do that. Yeah, it's
Wow.
fascinating.
That
So
is
then I
super fast.
see AI being on top of that, there's gonna be more security, the cybersecurity aspect of it, that's the direction
Mhm.
that we're going. We're gonna learn those habits that you're talking about. We're gonna learn the spending habits. We're gonna learn what they normally buy, how much they normally buy, what they're usually spending with, and I think the AI is going to learn all that stuff to be able to spit that out so that they can be able to protect the people better, protect the merchants, protect the entire network, because one person gets shot down, that hurts a whole lot more people that have to deal with this issue,
Because there are so many more people involved in just one transaction now
right?
once you move to real-time payments. There are more anyway, but right now, because it pens, you have an opportunity, each
Right.
party has an opportunity to verify. At this point, when it goes live, there are not going to be as many opportunities for the verification process to happen. It has to happen, but it has to happen in an instantaneous way rather than the opportunity to take the time to go back and do that, right?
Right. So
Mm,
banks need to work with third parties to be able to get that done because they don't
interesting.
have it usually internally, especially the credit unions aren't big enough to be able to implement that. But as soon as they do that, then that's going to create an opportunity for more security, right? The data is going to be more secure in the situation because on this side, I'm saying I am who I am. I'm using my phone or whatever to be able to do the transaction or whatever the secure way is. And then they're pushing that through to the person that they say they're going to do it to or
I love
pay to.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think
Yeah. It's
there,
innovation.
yeah, it's innovation and it's value. In the what I see a lot of people doing is adopting AI strategies without really any value outcome associated with it, right? They just want to join the Me Too camp and and jump
Yeah.
on this hype, the AI hype,
Yeah.
and do something with it so they can say they're actually leveraging AI when
Sure.
there is true real outcome, right? I mean, we see
Right.
companies who will generate these new products and that it's AI based, and yet you don't really understand what's the true value for that, right? I mean, you end up
Sure.
spending more time and money on something that has no value. So truly understanding the value and the outcome you want to achieve is really important when you're adopting AI technologies. And here, I think you can see a true value. We have more quicker access to our money, and it allows for the money to flow at a continuous pace rather than just sitting there.
Right. And then imagine for a company, if a merchant understands how their people spend the money. I mean, this is a whole database that can be created after that for them to query, right? And then you can be able to share that data maybe or sell that data if it's, appropriate. But there's lots of opportunities because of data. That's the golden ticket, right?
Data, exactly. Yes. Well, and right now there are ways for like retailers, they
Mhm.
collect so much data. So there are ways for them. And we see that with Amazon. When you go on Amazon, you'll see personalized ads. They know that you looked at this product, so they're going to send you. So there are ways right now to already personalize as it relates to a
Mhm.
shopping experience. But when we're talking about personalizing, we're talking about a spending. So right now, everything when you're in your bank account, at least with my bank account, it can tell me how I'm spending my money based
Right.
on what it's learned, right? So they're already using AI, but now they're taking this. When I think of personalization as it relates to this conversation, I could
Mhm.
see them tracking every aspect of the chain of command or transaction process so that they can truly so that multiple people, because right now the information that they collect in the bank as to where I spend my money stays in the bank. But right now they're going to be able to learn, or what I could see this year is if when they Uber personalizes, they could see every transaction or the way the transaction runs so that anyone who's involved now has access to that
Right?
information.
Yes. The originating bank, the receiving bank, they get to see what that person normally does, how the merchant normally spends money. They can look at the thresholds. I mean, think that's the way they can build on this will be extensive.
It will be.
And then for the merchant to be able to have that data at the end of the day to look at how their consumers are spending the money, how they're spending the money, the I think the overall picture is going to be better for them to be more efficient with their funds. So, like you're looking at your personal statement, I can tell you, how you've been spending your money. How much you've used on entertainment, how much you've used on your utilities, yada yada. I think that that'll be another thing. Is hey, you have this much money left over month after month. Why don't you put it into an investment account? What if that was something for the merchant side? Right. This is what you're doing. Here's, these are the goals that you have. You can type it in like you do with ChatGPT,
Mhm.
right? And these are the goals that I have for my business. And they can say, well, how are you going to do that when this is how much you spend on entertainment? This is how much you spend on salary or whatever. Maybe that'll be a back and forth by prompting your own personal data that's been siloed, to be able to say, this is the information for my financial picture. Tell me how I can make it better.
I agree. And for those of you who are listening out there right now, I think that it seems somewhat scary and almost intrusive when we talk about technologies like this and some of the
Good.
some of the output that it can provide. But the reality is we live in a world where there are so many different types of services and offerings available to us that the more that they are personalized, the more that we have someone holding our hand and helping guide us or give us suggestions as to ways to do things better, the more we're going to want to engage with that particular product or service offering. So I would say, as a whole, when we are looking um, at our professional lives and the products and service offerings that we offer, whether we own our own business or whether we're in the corporate world, we've got to figure out how to differentiate ourselves from everyone else by uber personalizing. Some would say hyper personalization, same concept. I just use a non-technical term, which is uber personalization, right? The differentiator today between us and anyone else out there is going to be how well we uber personalize. And this is just another example of how you can uber personalize the financial aspect of your lives. So super, super cool.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Nikki, because I know we're getting close. We're going to wrap up here in about probably about 10 minutes, but share with us some of, you've got all these great things that you're doing. Everything from, working with your kids at home, teaching them not only school education, but also financial education and just life lessons. But you've also, been in this entrepreneurial role, with your husband, embarking on this journey around marketing. And I even, in conversations with you, I know you're doing some of the sales aspect of it, right? Which I love that marketing and sales in your instance are actually working together, because most organizations, they are not. So I love that. And then all your philanthropic work. I mean, how are you taking all of this that you're doing and leveraging LinkedIn? Because a lot of stuff, right? So how are you? Because you've seen success here on LinkedIn. What do you think has attributed to your success?
I think LinkedIn became the way to experiment with the things I'm thinking in my head, as far as trying to work with other people that are thought leaders, learning their perspective, and that engagement created this snowball effect of education. So now I realize the things that I've learned with my kids, the things that I've learned in business, I can go and spit that out on LinkedIn and it encourages people. So, so the idea from LinkedIn was not initially for me to make any profit off of it, was just to share what I'm doing, because I profit off of that internally, right? I'm eager to be able to be an encouragement. I've got the flower in my name because I want to be able to offer something encouraging to other people. So LinkedIn, I've learned so much from other people that are in different industries that have way many more followers than I do, or have so many few followers but so much more experience than me. So I
Yeah.
think I've leveraged LinkedIn to help me to build a philanthropic. Now I'm going to do it. A philanthropic audience. Yes, philanthropic. We got it. Audience. So I want to do this program for Community Reinvestment Initiative. It's a Community Reinvestment Act. It's an initiative that I'd like to be able to help banks to talk about compliance with the aspect of teaching financial literacy to kids. That's something I'm super excited about. Well, I've used LinkedIn to be able to create these campaigns to talk to banks, compliance officers at different corporates, and say, hey, this is the mission that I'm on. If you'd like to join me, I would love to be able to tell you what we're doing and how you could be a part of it. I did the same thing for the ABA organization. There were some key people that I went and talked to based on what their profiles talk about, based on the things that the causes that they support. And I leverage LinkedIn to be able to do it, because I'm not just a corporate person. I'm also not just a mom. I'm not just a wife. I also have a heart for these different um, philanthropic opportunities. So I leverage LinkedIn to do it. So LinkedIn is like my whole person, right? And then this whole top voice thing, this has led me to where now I'm in the background writing a curriculum, to be able to teach other people how to leverage marketing on a small scale. I'm not a CMO of a huge corporate, corporate whatever, but I have some experience of what it's taken to be able to build some marketing. So I've leveraged LinkedIn for that too, to be able to experiment. So you've got Shubham, Walter, Kaylee, and Ash that are all on my team for ICG Pay. And my profile is the one that they kind of just throw a poll out. Let's see how it does. Okay, it did well, so we're going to do that for the company page. And then, hey, we're going to do this industry. Nikki, go throw it on your page and see what happens. Oh, that didn't work. Let's not use those pictures. So I'm also the test subject for
Yes.
our company's page. So yeah, that's how I do it. So how has yours evolved though? Because are you representing a company or representing yourself when you're on LinkedIn?
So I do, I actually just really represent myself. So I've created my
Okay.
brand on here. And then I very seldom talk about my company actually, uh,
Okay.
which is not always what everyone else does. I do focus now. So here's my experience as it relates to both the corporate world and the entrepreneur world. So in the corporate world, I really started to establish credibility in the sales and AI space. So when I decided to leave the corporate world, it was because I had seen so much success in my content. So when I talk about success, I don't mean that I generated great content all the time. I mean, I still struggle with trying to figure out what's good content, right? And I think it's ever evolving and changing as well because, we change and evolve as humans, as individuals. And LinkedIn continuously forces us to change, right? And evolve.
Those algorithms.
Right. But what I have learned is I've learned what lights me up. I've learned how to hone in on my messaging. The more you put yourself out there, the more you talk about it, the more you message it, the better you get at it. So going from the corporate world, I decided to launch Success with AI because I had realized that there was a something that I thrived in, which was talking about the value and benefits of leveraging AI technologies, but then the negative implications if we didn't retain the human aspect, right, of anything that we do. So I launched that because of some of the feedback that I got and because of the conversations I was having, all driven from LinkedIn. Well, that didn't pay a whole heck of a lot of money because I wasn't a thought leader. I wasn't an influencer. So then I
Right.
was like, okay, I got to do something else. But then I was able to extract all this sales knowledge and experience and success that I've had and created the Celevators program, which the person that helped me do that, I met her through LinkedIn and I evolved through that because as I was posting more, it kind of just led me down that path. So I think for me, I guess where I'm headed with that, for me, LinkedIn has not only been a way for me to message some of the things that I've wanted to message about, because I also started
Mhm.
my journey of healing on here, which, it was something I needed to go through. Not so sure I was happy with all the content that I put out there as I went through the journey of healing. But nonetheless, I started that here. I found all my jobs here when I was in the corporate world, you know, so I think it's been good to do what I've needed it to do, but it's also helped me do the things that I never had anticipated, which was help me refine what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, the people I wanted to do it with. And it's now opened up this huge world for me where I've
Mhm.
built these partnerships and these new opportunities. And my business is I'm attaining new clients and new opportunities all through LinkedIn. I mean, it's been the
Mhm.
place for me to go to in order to do that. Now, when we talk about building out our business, when Nikki, are you spending a lot of more time on inbound or outbound leads right now? And are you leveraging LinkedIn for that?
I would say I'm doing both outbound and inbound, and LinkedIn is my hook. That's where I spend most of the time in the messaging and in comments. So, and I'm taking any ones that come to me once I feel like they're at a place to where they might be interested in the work that we're doing, whether it's with the payments company or the
Right.
philanthropic stuff, or they want to have just a one-on-one with me to talk about their entrepreneurial life because some people are married and their wife doesn't get it. I've been able to coach them. Oh, I'm losing my ear. Sorry. um, I do that though in the DMs and then in the comments, and if we go to commenting too much and I feel like it's getting private, then I go there and then I transfer it. I have a Excel spreadsheet for my personal, and then we have HubSpot to send it to the sales team. I say, hey, look, this is what we talked about. They're excited about payments. They've looked at all these different pages and commented. Here you go. So yeah, I feel like LinkedIn is a great place to not only talk about business corporate stuff, but also the philanthropic and also being able to encourage people through their entrepreneur. Now, see, what is with this? For their entrepreneur life. Thanks,
I
Denise.
love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, so in summary, I think because I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time. In summary, we've talked about a lot today. So the goal of Blue TV was really to bring on these amazing individuals who could talk about what they do and share a little bit about them and themselves, so that our networks and our communities got to know one another better. But the other was to really share then what has truly helped you in all that you're doing when you're leveraging LinkedIn. So what are some of the good practices? What are the things you're doing effectively? What's working, what's not working, et cetera, so that we can share with others not only who we are, what we do, but also some of the success we've seen and maybe some of the challenges that we've had to overcome here on LinkedIn. So I think this has been a wonderful opportunity for us to spend some time together and to share all that you're doing, Nikki. I do have to say, though, I have been looking at or trying to look at your coffee cups that you have hanging on your wall there. I think that's super cool. Is there a story behind them?
Yeah. Um, yeah, so we collect coffee cups, and there's some in the dishwasher right now. As I mentioned earlier, I've got a bunch of dishes, but yeah, I collect them everywhere that we travel. So internationally, locally, there's only one coffee cup that does not belong up there. I have to have gone there to get the coffee cup, and
Okay.
that is in Delhi, India. So my good friend, who's also our head of marketing, came in for our management meeting, and he bought me a Delhi cup. So that means that I have to go there now because
Yeah.
I'm carrying it illegally compared to the status quo that I've made for myself. But yes, these are all coffee cups, and then I got this sign here. Oh, the places you'll go from a trip to Maine to see some friends.
I love that. I love that. Well, I've had a great time getting to know you more, getting to know a little bit about what you do. I think you are an amazing woman who spends how you manage all of your time between homeschooling 5 kids, owning a business with your husband, and taking on the marketing and sales role there, leveraging LinkedIn for as much as you do, all the various different philanthropic, there I go again, philanthropic organizations that you're working with. I mean, I think you're an amazing woman. So I'm so excited that you shared some of that with us today. I want to thank those of you who were out there joining us live. If you are not on live and are on the replay, just leave us the hashtag team replay. I do these every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. My hope is that we continue to have these conversations to share our successes and our experiences and even our challenges. So join us again next week at the same time, same place. And for those of you that want to connect with Nikki, tell us, Nikki, how best to do that.
Send me a message on LinkedIn or Nikki Nikki at icgpay.com.
And if you can see on the bottom, I have her LinkedIn handle scrolling through, so you can always check out her profile and either follow or connect with her. And any parting thoughts you would leave, Nikki?
I appreciate you bringing me on here. This is kind of fun for the first LinkedIn Live that I've been a part of. I've watched you do some other ones, and it's exciting to see the way you engage with everyone. And then these LinkedIn audios that are going live with the different top voices. So I'm excited you guys bringing me in, teaching me all this stuff, and letting me be on the journey of learning with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again to everyone who's joined us. Look forward to seeing you here next week, or just for both of us in our comments, in our content, on our lives. Look forward to seeing you guys all. Have a happy hump day, since it is Wednesday, and wishing everyone the best. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the stream. Nikki, if you want to stay on for just a few moments.